What is up, my ducks and drakes? Welcome to the Credit Lake. Today I'll be reading part 17 and part 18 of Misunderstanding, a Senior Sides fanfic by ElliottGreen333. If you'd like to support the author or the book, both of those links will be in the description below. I encourage you to support them and follow along with the story if you so choose. In the description, there's also a link to a Google form where you can recommend Wattpad Read Aloud books for the future. These fanfictions do not need to be of your own creation or from Wattpad. You can recommend something by someone else from AO3 or fanfiction.net or Tumblr. Just let me know so I could get in contact with the author and ask them if I could read their fic. I take stuff outside of the Senior Sides fandom too. That's just the fandom I've been in recently within Senior Sides fanfics. So yeah, literally just please recommend books. I don't know what you guys want to hear unless you guys tell me what you want to hear. So recommend those fics below. Yeah. My Etsy shop is also in the description, so if you'd like to help me with that, you can. So with that, here is part 17, Virgil. I sprinted back to the Mind Palace. Everything was becoming a giant blur. I felt cold and warm all at the same time. Everything was happening so fast. The hell just happened? Was that even real? Or in my head? Am I awake or asleep yet? Dark and light. It's all too much to handle. I want to get out. I need to get out. Someone help me out. Finally, I ran through the light Mind Palace's door, crashing into the opposite wall. I was panting and sweating and felt like vomiting all at the same time. I yelled out panic shouts every time I let out a breath. Where am I? What is happening? Is this even real? I crumbled to the floor, my back pushed deeply into the wall. Putting my head in between my knees, I can hardly breathe. I need to calm down. I need to relax. I'm okay. No, I'm not. I need to breathe. I need to breathe. Why the frick can't I breathe? Virgil? I heard a surprised voice roar out. I looked to see both Patton and Logan cautiously staring at me. I coughed a couple times, the room spinning more and more with each hack that left my body. I reached out for them, but fell on my side instead, becoming overwhelmed with dizziness. The two were immediately by my side. Logan pulled me onto his lap while Patton sat right next to me the entire time. He slipped his loose hand into my own. They were both starting to cry as well. I was probably scaring them. Hell, I was scaring myself. Virgil, can you hear me? Logan asked. It sounded like there were multiple Logans in the room, but I nodded. You're going to be okay, all right? Just keep breathing. Name me 5 things you could see. My eyes lazily wandered the room, trying to muster the strength to spit out these words. Patton, pictures, house plant, door. Good. 4 things you could feel. Patton's hand, ground, jacket. 3 things you can hear. Your voice, my breathing, you guys crying. 2 things you can smell. I froze. You're doing great, kiddo, Patton encouraged, giving me the strength to continue. The old heater, Patton's breath, I finally spit out. And 1 thing you could taste, Logan finished off with. My tears. I muttered. I felt good enough to sit up. Logan still put his arms on my hips, just in case I were to fall back on him. I roached my tired eyes, sniffling a little bit. Thank you, I cried, squeezing Patton's hand a little harder. No problem, kiddo, Patton breathed, letting my hand go. Immediately, Logan took my hand now. What happened? He inquired, looking me directly in the eyes. My brain felt like one big fuzzy mess. Right before I was about to him, I didn't know. It came back to me. The scene that I fought, I made him angry. He almost erased my memories. The realization felt like a pound of brick as I started to sob again. Logan pulled me into his chest, letting me get out all my tears. The other two sides exchanged worried looks. I've never been this upset after a panic attack before. I have to tell you guys something, I muttered through my tears. You guys deserve to know. Oh, before you do, Patton stopped me. He wordlessly stood up and ran into his room. I watched him go. That's when I remembered Logan and I were still holding hands. I met his eyes, blushing a little bit. I'm sorry, I squeaked, rubbing my thumb over his knuckles. He put his other hand on top of mine, making my heart thump. Me too, he said. Patton came back with a small stuffed bear and put it in my hand. Looking at it, I remembered it was something Patton used to give me as a child whenever I had a bad panic attack. Thought I might help, he chuckled, sitting down on the floor. Okay, it's about Roman and deceit. I started. Patton cried a few more tears, gesturing for me to continue. The reason we've been so distant is because of Roman. What do you mean? Logan asked. Deceit recently, accidentally, it erased Roman's memories. I murmured through more tears. The two sides gasped, looking at each other before looking back at me. After Logan found him sneaking out of Patton's room, Roman went after him because he likes Patton. They had a fight, and Deceit lashed out. His magic backfired and erased his memories. I only know all this because Deceit told me. I looked at Patton, sobbing once more. He wasn't going to tell you because he thought you would be afraid of him. He didn't want to lose you, Patton. He just wanted to keep you happy. I then turned to Logan. When you caught Roman kissing me, he was doing it because he didn't know any better. He didn't remember his old feelings for Patton or our flirty relationship. It meant nothing to me, and I'm so sorry you had to see all that. Oh, Virgil, Patton cooed. Logan and Patton pulled me into a small group hug. I felt calmer already. I shut my eyes, another tear coldly floating down my face. So then, why were you in the Dark Mind Palace? Patton questioned as we pulled apart. I went after Deceit. I saw him leave your room. We got into a small fight, and his anger peaked again. He almost erased my mind, too, I said, breaking back into more sobs. Well, don't worry, Virgil. You aren't there anymore, Logan assured me. Patton looked out the back door. I could see the worried glances traveling through his mind. Perhaps I missed something, but why was Deceit so worried about keeping that secret from Patton? We were dating, he mumbled. Logan looked at me as if he was looking for confirmation. I nodded, confirming his thoughts. We got into a big fight. I told him I didn't want to be with him if he was just going to continue to lie to me. I thought that would get him to tell me, but it didn't. I really miss him, he said, wrapping his arms around himself. Should we go after him? Logan suggested. No. If I know Deceit, he'll come back when he's ready, Patton told us. I think for now we should try to fix Roman. We all looked over at Roman's door. Perhaps we could fix this together. Then we'll get Deceit back. We will. Part 18. Logan's POV. It's been a month since Virgil had that massive panic attack and told us about Roman's memories. Since then, the three of us have been working around the clock to make the prince remember us again. It hasn't been the easiest thing in the world, though. Virgil was right. Deceit has tried almost everything to trigger them to come back. Nothing was working. I was reading through an article online about amnesia. It was very informative, but it mentioned nothing about getting memories back that were erased by magic. However, the more I read on the subject, the more I think I understood what could be done to get his memories back. As I continued to read, there was a knock on my door. Glancing at the computer's clock, I realized it had almost been 4 hours since I talked to the others. They're probably a little worried. "Come in," I answered, shutting my computer down for the night. In came Virgil, his jacket loosely rolling off his shoulders. He was carrying 2 piping hot cups of tea. I smiled, taking one of them out of his hands. "It's black. Your favorite," Virgil hummed. He planted a kiss on my cheek while I got to taste the tea. "Amazing, as usual," I snickered. He smiled, taking my hand and guiding me over to the bed. We sat down together, leaning on each other while we quietly drank the tea. "How are you feeling?" Really stressed, but what's new, right?" He groaned. "Thomas is really plummeting from us. Patton and I are trying to help him while also trying to keep Roman in check. I mean, Roman hardly talks to us. It's like he's afraid of us or something. I hate to say it, but Deceit messed him up even worse than I thought," he told me. "Well, it makes sense. Deceit was the first side he remembers meeting. He's just having a hard time warming up to us again," I assured him. Virgil laughed, rubbing his face. "That sounds familiar," he mumbled. "How's the research?" "If I'm being honest, I think Deceit was really close to figuring it out, and I think Deceit holds the key to bringing back his memories. We're so close with this. I know it." I gave him a kiss on the head. He hummed in delight, gripping me in a hug. "I love you, Virg." "Love you too," he muttered. The anxious side buried his face in my chest, his breathing slowing down. I took the empty tea mug from his hand and set it on the nightstand, leaning back together on the bed. I released a sigh. I hope I am right. I hope we are closer than we seem. I felt myself drifting off to sleep. A loose smile placed itself on my face. Nothing felt better than being cuddled with Virgil after a long day's work. Just as my mind shut off, I got a tugging feeling in my chest. Virgil groaned, obviously feeling it too. "Damn it, Thomas," he slurred. He pushed himself up, rubbing the 3 minutes of sleep out of his eyes. "It's okay, honey. I'm sure it's nothing huge. We'll just get in and get right back out," I assured him, nodding, taking my hand as we sang out together. Virgil appeared in his spot while I rose up. Patton and Roman were also there. Whenever Thomas needs us, we try to include Roman and hope he remembers something. "Good evening, Thomas," I greeted. He looked over at me, giving me an odd look. "The tie doesn't match the rest of your ensemble very well," he told me. Virgil and Patton both glanced at me. My eyebrow raised. I grabbed my tie and looked at it, unsure what to say. "Thank you?" "That was a little rude, don't you think, kiddo?" Patton added. Thomas looked over at him, running a hand through his hair. "Could you maybe, not call me your kiddo? I'm sure I'm older than you," Thomas directed. The poor father figure stared down at his shoes. I could see he was embarrassed. "Geez, someone needs sleep," Virgil grunted, rolling his eyes. "Maybe I'd get some sleep if you weren't keeping me up all night," Thomas retorted. The anxious side shrunk into his hoodie, refusing now to look at his host. "Easy there, Thomas," I defended. "I'm just telling the truth," he shrugged. "Wow, I may not remember much, but is this how all of these meetings go?" Roman chuckled. He looked around at us, wanting an answer. "Wait, just telling the truth?" Virgil repeated back to Thomas. Roman looked a little offended that we were ignoring him, but Virgil seemed to be onto something. "What, am I not allowed?" Thomas shot back. "You've just never been this blunt before," I added. "You don't think..." Virgil trailed off. Patton seemed to get our flow. He choked on a sob, putting his hand over his mouth. Deceit, Patton bawled. Virgil went over to comfort him. Deceit? What does he have to do with this? Roman questioned. Thomas cannot lie without deceit, no matter how small his falsehoods are. They all come from deceit. And if this is how he is acting without a sense of lying, something is definitely wrong in the Dark Mind Palace, I told him. We gotta go over there, Patton wailed. He wiped his tears, using Virgil to balance himself easier. He could be hurt, or worse. The father figure panicked. It's okay, Pat. If he's like me and just ducking out, we'll find him and help him. Just like you guys did for me. Virgil guaranteed him. This is why I love Virgil. He tries to be positive for others' sake. I just wish he could do that for himself sometimes. All right, let's go, I declared. Patton, Virgil, and I sunk down. When we all appeared back in the Mind Palace, we headed upstairs to the back door. I put my hand on the doorknob, ready to open the door. Wait, I heard a fanciful voice call out. We all turned around. There stood Roman, watching us leave. Let me come with you. Oh, kiddo, that's really brave of you. But this is serious, Patton explained. I know, and I know I haven't been helpful recently. I know there are lots of things you know about me that I can't seem to remember. But please, I want to help. I want to remember. Patton glided over to him. They looked at each other for a while before Patton trapped him in a hug. We will find Deceit, I swear, but we need your help to do it, Patton told him. Roman smiled, looking at Virgil and I with hope. The two let go of their embrace. Patton nodded, and I opened the door. As we entered the Dark Mind Palace, Virgil grabbed tightly onto my hand. He was nervous, and I was too. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support me, please subscribe and go to my Etsy shop. Those are the two biggest things you could do to support me, along with following the trail to the links in the description to all my social medias. I also do TikTok cosplays of Sander Sides. So if you'd like to see some really cool Sander Sides cosplays, go ahead and click that link in the description. And don't forget to fill out that Google form to recommend fics to me, because I do not know what you guys want. Thank you all for listening, and much like Virgil trying to breathe like he does, do your best.